What if I told you that you're already paying more money in California, and you probably don't even realize why? These aren't random price hikes. They're the result of new laws that quietly took effect, and they affect your rent, gas, groceries, bills, and even subscriptions. Most people won't notice until it's too late. In this video, I'm breaking down 10 California laws that could drain your wallet this year, and the last one is the one nobody is talking about. Watch closely, because once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Number 1. Minimum wage increases and rising everyday costs. California's minimum wage increases are one of the most overlooked reasons everyday life keeps getting more expensive. When the wage floor rises, businesses don't suddenly gain extra money to cover it. Instead, they adjust by raising prices on food, services, memberships, and daily necessities. Restaurants update menus, grocery stores raise shelf prices, and service providers quietly add new fees. For many people, it feels like prices are rising for no reason, but the connection often traces back to labor costs being built directly into what consumers pay every single day. What makes this law especially impactful is how quickly the costs spread across the economy. A higher minimum wage doesn't just affect one worker behind a counter. It affects delivery drivers, warehouse workers, cleaners, cashiers, and support staff throughout the supply chain. Businesses distribute these higher costs across thousands or even millions of transactions. That's why coffee costs more, takeout feels overpriced, and local businesses seem noticeably pricier than before. Research consistently shows that when labor expenses rise, consumer prices follow, creating a ripple effect that slowly reshapes spending habits across entire communities. For viewers, the most effective response is awareness paired with intentional spending. Pay attention to frequent purchases like food, fuel, and subscriptions, where small increases quietly add up. Reviewing receipts, comparing prices, and questioning new service fees can reveal patterns early. Planning meals, reducing impulse buys, and canceling unused subscriptions can protect cash flow. This mindset helps families stay flexible, reduce stress, and feel more in control. Understanding that higher prices often come from policy-driven changes, not personal failure, empowers smarter decisions and long-term financial stability in an increasingly expensive environment. Number 2. Gas taxes and transportation fees quietly raising daily expenses. California's gas taxes and transportation fees are another major reason daily expenses keep climbing, especially for people who rely on driving. Even small increases per gallon can feel insignificant at first, but over weeks and months, they add up fast. These taxes are designed to fund infrastructure and environmental goals, yet the immediate impact is felt at the pump. Commuters, delivery drivers, and families driving kids to school all end up paying more just to maintain their normal routines, turning transportation into a growing financial pressure. What many people don't realize is that these costs extend far beyond filling up your own car. Higher fuel prices increase expenses for shipping companies, delivery services, and supply chains, and those businesses don't absorb the loss, they pass it on. This is why groceries, online orders, restaurant meals, and retail products quietly become more expensive. When trucks cost more to operate, every item they carry becomes slightly pricier. Over time, these small increases compound, making it feel like everything costs more at once, even though the source traces back to transportation policies. The smartest response is strategic adjustment, not panic. Combining errands, carpooling, and planning trips more efficiently can reduce fuel usage without changing your lifestyle drastically. Comparing gas prices, using rewards programs, and keeping vehicles properly maintained can also soften the impact. For households and small businesses alike, awareness is key. Recognizing that transportation costs influence nearly every purchase helps people budget more realistically, avoid surprise expenses, and understand why prices rise even when personal spending habits stay the same. This awareness turns frustration into clarity and helps families stay financially prepared as transportation costs continue shaping everyday life.
Number 3. Electric vehicle registration fees increasing ownership costs. California has been pushing drivers toward electric vehicles, but many people are surprised to learn that owning one is becoming more expensive, not less.
New and adjusted EV registration fees were introduced to make up for lost gas tax revenue, and these fees are charged every single year. For drivers who switch to electric to save money long-term, this change feels unexpected. Instead of paying at the pump, EV owners now see higher costs show up during vehicle registration renewals, turning what felt like a smart financial move into a growing annual expense. The real issue is that these fees often arrive all at once, making them feel heavier than gradual gas spending. Gas prices rise slowly, but registration fees are paid in a lump sum, which can strain household budgets. This affects middle-income families the most, especially those who stretched finances to afford an electric car in the first place. As EV adoption grows, these fees are expected to increase or expand, meaning long-term ownership costs may continue climbing even as fuel savings level off. The best defense is planning ahead. EV owners should review DMV fee schedules early, set aside money monthly, and avoid surprises when renewal notices arrive. Comparing total ownership costs before purchasing a vehicle is now more important than ever. Understanding that savings come in different forms helps drivers stay realistic. Awareness allows households to budget smarter, reduce stress, and avoid feeling misled. Knowing how policies shift costs rather than eliminate them empowers viewers to make better decisions, stay flexible, and adapt as transportation laws continue reshaping what it truly costs to drive in California. Number 4. Rent control and housing laws driving up living costs. California's expanded rent control and housing regulations were designed to protect tenants, but they've also created unexpected financial pressure for renters and homeowners alike. While annual rent caps limit how much landlords can raise prices for existing tenants, they also increase compliance costs, paperwork, and legal risks for property owners. To balance that burden, many landlords raise rents to the maximum allowed amount, add new fees, or increase prices between tenants. For renters, this means housing costs still rise, just in quieter, more structured ways that feel unavoidable. These laws also reduce the supply of available rentals, which pushes prices higher across the market. Some property owners choose to sell, convert units, or stop renting altogether rather than deal with strict regulations. Fewer available units mean more competition, and competition drives prices up. Even renters in protected units feel the impact through higher application fees, parking charges, utility costs, and stricter lease terms. Housing studies consistently show that when supply tightens, affordability declines, even when rent control is in place. The most effective response is preparation and flexibility. Renters should understand local rent caps, track lease terms carefully, and budget for annual increases rather than assuming stability. Negotiating longer leases, maintaining strong tenant records, and comparing total housing costs, not just base rent, can make a meaningful difference. For families, awareness reduces shock and helps with long-term planning. Recognizing how housing laws reshape the market allows viewers to make smarter moves, adjust expectations, protect savings, reduce stress, and stay grounded as California's housing landscape continues shifting under regulatory pressure. Number 5. Gig worker classification laws raising service prices. California's gig worker classification laws changed how companies can hire and pay independent contractors, and the financial impact reaches far beyond workers themselves. By requiring many freelancers and app-based workers to be treated as employees, businesses now face higher labor costs, added benefits, insurance requirements, and stricter scheduling rules. To offset this, companies adjust prices on everyday services. Ride shares cost more, delivery fees increase, and on-demand services quietly become less affordable, even though consumers may never see the law mentioned on their receipt. The ripple effect is especially noticeable in convenience-based spending. Food delivery apps add service fees, rides cost more during peak hours, and small businesses pass on increased costs to customers. Freelancers also raise rates to compensate for reduced flexibility or fewer opportunities. Research on labor reclassification shows that when flexibility decreases and costs rise, consumers ultimately pay the difference. What once felt like an affordable luxury slowly turns into an occasional expense, reshaping how people use services they relied on weekly or even daily. The smartest move is intentional usage and comparison. Viewers can reduce costs by grouping orders, avoiding peak times, and comparing platforms before booking services. Supporting local providers directly can sometimes eliminate added fees. For freelancers and consumers alike, awareness is critical. Understanding why prices rise reduces frustration and improves decision-making. This knowledge helps households adjust habits, protect budgets, manage expectations, and stay financially steady as labor laws continue transforming how services are priced, delivered, accessed, and experienced across California's modern economy.
Number 6. Environmental and packaging fees increasing everyday purchases. California's environmental regulations and packaging laws have added new costs to everyday shopping, often without clear explanation. These laws require businesses to use eco-friendly materials, reduce plastic waste, and comply with strict sustainability standards. While the goal is environmental protection, the materials and compliance processes are more expensive. Businesses rarely absorb these costs. Instead, they pass them directly to consumers through higher prices, added surcharges, and new environmental fees that appear on receipts at grocery stores, restaurants, and online checkouts. The impact shows up most in frequent low-cost purchases, which makes it harder to notice at first. Grocery bags cost more, takeout containers come with added fees, and packaged foods slowly increase in price. Online orders are affected too, as shipping materials and compliance reporting add to fulfillment costs. When multiplied across millions of transactions, these small increases generate significant revenue, but for households, they quietly drain monthly budgets. Research on environmental compliance consistently shows that consumer pricing adjusts upward when regulations increase production and packaging expenses. The most effective strategy is intentional spending and awareness. Bringing reusable bags, cooking more meals at home, and reducing reliance on packaged convenience foods can lower exposure to these fees. Reviewing receipts helps identify patterns and avoid unnecessary add-ons. Awareness also changes expectations, reducing frustration when prices rise without obvious reasons. By understanding how environmental laws influence pricing, viewers can make smarter choices, control spending habits, reduce waste, plan ahead, protect cash flow, and stay financially resilient as sustainability policies continue reshaping how much everyday purchases truly cost across California. Number 7. Health insurance and employer mandates, increasing hidden costs. California's expanded health insurance and employer mandate laws have increased costs in ways many people don't immediately connect to policy changes. Businesses are now required to provide broader coverage, meet stricter compliance rules, and contribute more toward employee health care. While these protections benefit workers, they also raise operating costs for employers. To balance that burden, companies quietly adjust prices, reduce bonuses, slow wage growth, or increase employee contributions, meaning workers and consumers often pay indirectly rather than seeing a clear bill. These costs ripple outward into the wider economy. When businesses spend more on healthcare, they compensate by raising prices on goods, services, and subscriptions. Small businesses feel this pressure the most because they have less flexibility to absorb higher premiums. Studies on employer healthcare mandates show that increased benefit costs often lead to higher consumer prices and reduced take-home pay, even when salaries remain unchanged on paper. For households, this creates the illusion of stability, while real purchasing power slowly erodes. The most effective response is proactive financial awareness. Review pay stubs, benefit summaries, and insurance options carefully to understand where money is going. Comparing plans during open enrollment, using preventative care, and avoiding unnecessary services can reduce out-of-pocket expenses. Budgeting for medical costs separately helps prevent surprises.
Understanding that healthcare laws influence both paychecks and prices empowers viewers to plan ahead, manage expectations, reduce stress, and stay financially steady as healthcare-related expenses continue shaping everyday life in California.
Number 8. Overtime and scheduling laws raising service prices. California's overtime and worker scheduling laws have changed how businesses staff shifts, and the cost shows up in places people don't expect. Employers must now manage stricter overtime rules, predictive scheduling requirements, and penalty pay for last-minute changes. These rules increase labor expenses even when sales stay the same. To stay profitable, companies raise prices on retail goods, restaurant menus, memberships, and everyday services, passing the cost to customers rather than cutting operations. The effects are most noticeable in customer experience and availability. Stores shorten hours, restaurants reduce menus, and service wait times grow longer. When fewer workers are scheduled to avoid overtime, productivity drops and costs per transaction rise. Economic studies on labor regulation show that when staffing flexibility decreases, prices increase and service levels decline. This is why errands take longer, appointments are harder to book, and simple tasks feel more expensive than before, even though demand hasn't changed. The smartest adjustment is planning and timing. Shopping during off-peak hours, booking services early, and avoiding last-minute changes can reduce added fees. For families, recognizing how labor laws affect availability helps set realistic expectations and avoid frustration. Tracking service charges and comparing providers can uncover better options. Understanding that higher prices often reflect compliance costs, not greed, allows viewers to adapt habits, protect budgets, reduce stress, and stay financially prepared as workplace rules continue reshaping how much time, money, and convenience everyday services require.
Number 9. Business compliance and licensing fees raising local prices. California's growing list of business compliance and licensing requirements has made it more expensive to operate legally, especially for small and local businesses. New reporting rules, annual filings, safety standards, and mandatory permits all come with fees and administrative costs. While these expenses aren't visible to customers, businesses rarely absorb them long-term. Instead, they raise prices on products, services, and memberships, spreading the cost across every transaction to stay afloat. The impact is most noticeable in locally owned shops and service providers. Unlike large corporations, small businesses don't have the scale to dilute compliance costs. As a result, prices increase faster, discounts disappear, and minimum purchase requirements become more common. Studies on regulatory burden consistently show that when compliance costs rise, consumer prices increase and market competition shrinks. Fewer small businesses survive, reducing options and giving remaining providers more pricing power, which further drives up costs for consumers. The most effective response is supportive and informed spending. Comparing prices, understanding why local services cost more, and planning purchases in advance can help manage expenses. Supporting businesses directly, avoiding last-minute requests, and bundling services can sometimes reduce fees. Awareness changes expectations and reduces frustration. By recognizing how regulatory laws influence pricing, viewers can make smarter decisions, protect budgets, and stay adaptable as regulatory costs continue shaping California's local economy and the prices people pay every day. Number 10. Hidden taxes and government fees embedded in monthly bills. California's newest tax adjustments and government fees often don't arrive as a single, obvious charge. Instead, they're quietly embedded into monthly bills people already pay, making them harder to notice and easier to overlook. Utility bills, internet services, phone plans, insurance premiums, and even streaming subscriptions now include added surcharges tied to regulatory programs, infrastructure funding, or compliance costs. Individually, these increases seem small, but because they're recurring, they steadily chip away at disposable income without triggering alarm. What makes these fees especially costly is their cumulative effect.
A few extra dollars on electricity, a slight increase in water rates, and new line items on insurance statements can quietly add up to hundreds of dollars per year. Because these charges are labeled with vague terms like adjustments, recovery fees, or regulatory costs, most people don't question them. Economic studies on indirect taxation show that hidden fees are more likely to persist and expand, precisely because they don't feel like traditional taxes and rarely spark immediate public reaction. The most practical defense is active review and habit awareness. Regularly scan bills for new line items, compare providers when possible, and question unexplained increases. Setting calendar reminders to review subscriptions and utilities helps catch changes early. Even negotiating or switching services once a year can create meaningful savings. Understanding that many rising costs come from policy-driven fees, not overuse, helps viewers stay calm, proactive, and prepared. This awareness strengthens budgeting discipline, prevents slow financial leaks, protects long-term savings, and helps households maintain control as more costs move quietly into the background of everyday life.
California's recent laws reveal a clear pattern. Costs rarely disappear, they shift. Instead of showing up as one obvious bill, expenses move quietly into prices, fees, renewals, and everyday transactions. From housing and transportation to food, services, and utilities, these changes touch nearly every part of daily life. What makes this challenging isn't just the money, it's the lack of visibility. When costs rise slowly and indirectly, people blame themselves rather than recognizing the broader forces at work. Understanding these laws creates financial clarity, and clarity leads to control. Awareness helps explain why budgeting feels harder even when habits haven't changed. It shows why saving takes more effort, and why pay raises don't stretch as far as expected. These laws often begin with positive intentions, but their effects ripple outward, reshaping how households spend, plan, and prioritize. Recognizing those ripple effects allows families to adjust early instead of reacting late. The goal isn't fear, it's preparation. Small choices compound over time, just like small fees do. Tracking expenses, questioning increases, comparing options, and planning ahead all become more powerful once the real causes are visible. Knowledge removes confusion, reduces stress, and replaces frustration with strategy. When people understand that rising costs are often system-driven, not personal failures, confidence returns. Staying informed is no longer optional, it's a financial skill. The more you understand how policies affect your wallet, the better equipped you are to protect it. Awareness doesn't stop change, but it ensures you're never caught off guard by it. Before you go, drop a comment telling us which law shocked you the most. We read every single one. Watch our previous video for more eye-opening breakdowns that affect your daily life. If this helped you, support our work. We put serious effort into these videos. Please subscribe to the channel. It's just one click, and it truly helps us grow.